Volix, and today I want to share with you the build I've been running in Lies of P. This isn't anything fancy, it's mostly just a testament to the unsung hero, the stat system in this game, which is capacity. I've read a lot of talk about how silly the weight system is in this game, that achieving the light weight classification is basically impossible if you want to run puppet parts that are even halfway decent. Initially I thought the same, and I was running either normal or slightly heavy, which was fine, but eventually I got sick and tired of waiting like 2 full seconds after completing an attack animation to perform a dodge. For me, this entire game revolves around anticipating the end of animations and planning your moves accordingly. There's just no canceling animations in this game, and interrupting enemy attacks is exceedingly rare. However, if you have a sense of how far down the stagger meter your enemy is so you just might be able to do it, that feeling is just so good. And in order to get there, you really have to have as much freedom of movement as possible. That all comes from staying below 30% equip weight. As soon as I made the decision to run a light build, I got to farming ergo and just put all my points into capacity. Here are the results. That was the playstyle that I wanted to cultivate in this game for sure.
Incredible! You defeated the king!
Now the build variety in this game isn't really too dynamic, but there are definitely a few things to talk about, and this build is reflective of the end game. But you can really easily find most of the essential items very early on, so it can work for any stage in the game. Let's get into the weapons. I use the Trident of the Covenant, which is a boss weapon you can trade the Archbishop's Ergo for. It's fast but also powerful and can cover pretty significant distances with ease. It is also one of the only weapons in the game with an increased critical rate, making this an effective crit build on top of being quite fast. For the Legion arm, the Puppet String has been a pretty easy choice for me for the entire game, scaling with tech but also providing an OP moveset that I think is the best among all the Legion arms, and it improves greatly once it's upgraded fully. I never switched this out. For amulets, the Patience Amulet is probably the most important piece of gear among equipable items. It's probably the best item in the game, actually. You can use whatever weapon you want, equip whatever defense parts you want, but without this amulet, you'll always have trouble with stamina management. The Assassin's Amulet is a late-game amulet that isn't entirely necessary, but it synergizes very well with the Trident's increased crit rate. Carriers is another vital piece of gear. It increases carry weight, obviously. The +1 is a later game item, but the normal version is attainable very early on. The Red Fox is a late game stat buff, providing +3 motivity and tech, but you can easily swap this out for the Tech Amulet or the Strength Amulet, which provide +4 to either stat respectively. Defense parts. Just equip whatever will keep you under 30%. Okay, this brings us to the namesake of the build, the capacity stat. Now as far as I can tell, this stat is easily the most powerful in the game because it doesn't have any caps. It provides an additional 3.5 pounds of weight to your max per point spent. Now, this is a hot take for this game, because most everyone sees the weight system as rubbish, and capacity is a dumb stat to level. But it's the only stat that simply continues to provide an equal benefit no matter what stage of the game you're in, whereas strength and dex are capped as their level rises. I've seen various reports on this, but it seems that they follow a curve instead of dropping off a cliff at like level 30. Whatever stat you're scaling with, initially you'll be getting like 3 or 4 points of damage from each level, and then eventually you'll just be getting 1, right? So, like above level 40 or something like that, you're just going to be getting 1 and maybe 2 like every so often. But wait, I'm above 50 right now, I still get 3.5 pounds of weight carry. Believe me, you're going to want to use all that carry weight too. There are really dumb amulets that weigh more than greatswords in this game. So, if you want to experiment with different interesting builds with some of the boss amulets and stuff, but keep things under 30% for the combat response, you'll need high capacity. So for me, in order of importance, I think capacity comes first, then whatever stat your damage is scaling with. As far as vitality and vigor go, I think around 20 is good. It can take you to the end game. All right, let's go over what I consider to be the essential P organs in the skill tree. Can I also say that the nomenclature in this game is just totally absurd? I'm sure that you all know what I mean. Upgrading your character's P organ sounds like some eroge shit. Anyway, most everything I picked was just, offense oriented. That means stagger, fable, and damage. Most importantly, reductions in stamina consumption and dodge buffs were totally essential for this build. Phase 1, we have increased stagger window, fable slots, and the most vital one, link dodge. Pretty sure everybody playing this game chose this as their first
P organ.
Okay, anyway, now in Phase 2, you've got another vital dodge buff, which is the rising dodge. This is so important because in the event of getting flattened by pretty much any boss attack, it dramatically decreases the time before you can recover. And instead of getting up like all slow, like you roll up in a very flashy manner. Let's face it, this build is really just all about being a little bit more flashy. Retain guard regain is just a little bit of defense. I found weapon durability to be pretty annoying too, so just because you have to fit in a very unflashy moment into your boss fights, I buffed that as well. It really goes without saying that more amulet slots are essential for any build, really. You need to be able to customize as much as possible, especially because this game only provides precious few ways to do so. Phase 3 has almost no worthwhile nodes. I just grabbed this to advance the skill tree, honestly. I unlocked some important smaller nodes that function within the build, stamina consumption reduction, charge attack stagger, and more ergo. Phase 4, this has some of the most powerful buffs in the skill tree, and I went on to unlock every single node in the bunch. Add amulet slots, of course, fable slots again, essential offensive buffs, because fable strikes activate regardless of your stamina meter, so you can link these attacks after you've depleted all of your stamina, and it makes for some very flashy combos. Increased special grindstone uses is especially OP later on because of the late game grindstones, in particular the perfect grindstone. Perfect guard causes stiffness, just makes traversal much easier. Phase 5 nodes are expensive as hell. I never understood why wishstone uses were so important. I've never even used the wishstone once. Maybe it's because there are lots of stones that buff the Spectre, and I've never even conjured a Spectre. Pretty much out of pride, I wanted to beat all the bosses solo. I sold every star fragment I collected for ergo. After Phase 5, the skill tree actually evolves more into New Game Plus as well, but I'm not there yet, so I can't speak on it. Anyway, let's go out to the test dummy and try out these weapons real quick. Not very much to this, honestly. I just wanted to show off why this trident is so great, and it's all in the running heavy and the charged heavy. So when you drive up on an enemy, when you drive up on an enemy, opening with the running lunge is just a really great fast way to get a heavy in. The charge heavy covers so much distance and just feels fantastic also. I feel like you can charge heavy from the comfort of your home almost. When we tax the stamina meter, our recovery is extremely fast due to the Patience Amulet. Also, consumption is at as low a rate as it can be. And this right here is why I use the puppet string. Enough said. Okay, so the Fable Art is a quick combo. I prefer this versus like the more slow ones. The hitbox can be tricky, but once you get it, it's totally devastating. Okay, that pretty much covers the entire build. It's super fun to play. Quick as hell, very satisfying. Here's a quick first phase with Simon MANUS so that you can get the idea of what the build looks like in action. I love how this build performed in this fight. There are only a few parries in there, and mostly it relies entirely on the speed of the dodges and the short recovery time to get in shots here and there. No fancy Fable arts, no huge one-shot mechanics, just good old-fashioned video game ass jumping around and kicking ass. Alright, that does it for this video. If it was at all helpful or fun, drop a like and sub. If you have any thoughts, leave a comment. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate every single one of you. That's enough for me this time. Keep farming, everybody.
Next evolution is coming. They will the truth, not lies.